Hello everyone and welcome to another Speed Paint. On the right you'll see my references for what I'm going to draw in this video today. The blue-haired one is named Laika, and the other is Asimi. Laika's pronouns are he, him, and Asimi's are he, they. Just wanted to show the references before my little PNG tuber will cover them up. These characters are from a new webcomic called Speed Demon, which will be linked in the description. It's available on both TAPAS and WEBTOON. I've been waiting excitedly for this project for a long time. The creator Ripley has been working on it for a year now. There are currently 4 chapters out, and it releases every other week on Wednesday at 5 PM CST. When I was reading the first few chapters, I was definitely looking for a great panel to draw fan art of. I've really been looking forward to its release and definitely wanted to make a Speed Paint fan art video for it, both for my own enjoyment and also to try to help get the word out. She's been working really hard on the comic, and if I can help even one person go and read it, that would be great. She also recently opened a Patreon where all the available chapters are posted already, and the others she's been working on will be going up as time goes on. So this comic's main character is Laika, the blue cat boy. He's a sassy thief who is just trying to get by, and in the process breaks a lot of laws doing it. He comes across Asimi, who's getting questioned by guards for taking an apple without paying, and a lot of shenanigans ensue where Laika finds himself both a technical hero and a target in that situation. I find the ways he ended up dealing with that to be pretty funny, especially his accidental reflex to kick the guard for getting too aggressively close to him. I remember there was one panel where one of the guards is realizing that Laika is a wanted man, and I remember looking at that expression on his face and being like, oh god, that's nasty. Like, they really captured such an intimidatingly gross face for that guy in that one panel, and he definitely deserved the kick. As that little scene continued and the other guard starts attacking too, Laika's response of being just like, oh, there's no reasoning with this guy is really funny too. There were a lot of moments that had me laughing out loud from both the absurdity and the situational comedy. Not only that, but all the expressions and body language of all the characters are also pushed to a comedically extreme way that's really nice to look at too. I mean, except that guard. I still think that panel is just nasty to look at, but I think that's a good thing. We're definitely supposed to hate these guards, and the art expressions really helped that. Ripley has always had a pretty strong grasp on expression. It's something I wish I was better at too. She really pushes the reactions and feelings, and it really helps sell the ideas of what's happening with the characters. I always love to see people who are really good at pushing expression. I wish I had a habit of doing that, but usually when I'm drawing, I don't realize the faces I've drawn are pretty boring until it's too late and I don't feel like going back and changing it. Funny enough, I actually don't struggle too awfully too much with posing, but that might just be me feeling content with how I pose, I don't know. I've always been interested in posing and such, which I think also helps me when I'm animating. I don't necessarily push the poses to the extreme, but I feel like I'm happy with my poses, and they don't feel too stiff or anything. I know I leaned on the negative side when talking about my art last week, like how I struggle with faces and hair, but I think it is important to look at your art and remind yourself that there are things that you really do enjoy about it. Oh, also, speaking of that, when I mentioned in my last video how I'd love to try to do some art studies for one of these speed paints, it seemed like other people also thought it was a good idea. I'll definitely have it on my to-do list, but I have a few other things that I want to do in the coming weeks where I'm not sure I'll actually be able to get around to it. I have an old art redraw that I have planned to post in December. It might be next week or the week after, I don't know, but I definitely know I need to do it before the year ends. The reason is because it's specifically inspired by the Year of the Rabbit in the Chinese Zodiac, and it's something I meant to do far earlier in the year. I'm glad I didn't do it before I started making these weekly speed paints, because then I wouldn't have recorded it, so it does work out. But I definitely pushed it off until the absolute last second though, so I do need to get to it before too long. Back to the speed paint, I did want to talk a bit about my love for the characters. The main character is Laika. I love his character, he puts up a sassy front, but I think he's lonely. I really look forward to seeing how his bond with Asimi and any other characters showing up will grow stronger as the comic goes on. I just really want for this cute cat boy to have friends and be loved. It doesn't seem like he'd ever admit he wants any of that though, so I know it's going to be a slow burn for that. And let me just say, I love slow burns. I love slow burn friendships, slow burn romances. I love watching characters get so overwhelmed with their feelings that they'd be unable to stand it anymore and just things boil over and the bonds they have with the people around them grow stronger because of it. I guess you could say I enjoy seeing an emotionally constipated character. Probably because I can relate to that, oops. I'm just really excited to see those kinds of things happen in the Speed Demon comic. As for the other character Asimi, I just adore what I've seen of them so far. They seem a little ditzy and oblivious, or maybe even gullible, I don't know, we haven't seen too much of them yet. But they're exactly the kind of character that I tend to love. It also helps that I adore their hairstyle and outfit, they're so cute. We've seen in the comic just a little bit of what Laika's abilities might be, but nothing about Asimi's. I'm extremely curious about what kinds of things they can do. They almost seem like they'd be some kind of caster, but I can't be sure. Either way, I'm really looking forward to what they'll do. and knowing the creator, I am sure Asimi is going to have a really cool moment at some point in the story. All Ripley's characters are so cool, and have such interesting and amazing abilities. I really admire her creativity and ingenuity when it comes to character powers and stuff like that. So about the fan art I'm drawing for the comic, I mean, clearly I chose one of the cuter panels to draw, but there were so many that I would love to draw. This pose came from chapter 3. I knew as soon as I saw it that I just had to draw it. You know, I love those cute scenes where one character has to be carried by another, and they're all embarrassed and all that stuff. The characters don't even have to be into each other or shipped together or anything for me to love a scene like that. It's a combination of a show of strength from one character, a show of trust from the other, and to go with it, the one carrying clearly cares about the person enough to hold them and put an effort into doing something like that. I feel like Laika is blushing in the comic because he's not used to being close to people at all, and also Asimi's really cute. I'm not sure if there will be some obvious pairings as the comic goes on and who they'll consist of, but I'll definitely be keeping my eyes open for that. I mean, one of my favorite parts about consuming content is finding an enjoyable romantic or even platonic bond that I can really get invested in. I'm not sure how many characters will end up being introduced into Laika's little adventure, and when, but I'm sure there will be some really fun dynamics to watch unfold. Ripley's really good at that sort of thing, and I just love it. For context on how I seem to know a lot of this stuff, Ripley is my best friend, and she has DM'd a lot of D&D games that I've been in. I always adore seeing what NPCs in those games are connected to who, and how they react to each other, their bonds and their emotions. When I mentioned her characters having really cool powers and stuff like that, those are also really prominent in her games, both in story and she often draws them out as well, and they're always super cool. Her art in general is also always really colorful and fun. I wanted to sort of emulate the pretty colors in my own way for the background of this fan art, and really make everything pop. I hope it turned out fun to look at. So since I've been friends with Ripley for a long time, I've known of her OC Laika for a good while. I even did an animation of him once as a gift. I'm gonna share that with you all at the end of this video. As this fan art gets finished up, I just wanted to remind you to go check out her webcomic in the description on TAPAS and WEBTOON. She worked really hard on it and I know it's gonna be great. If you enjoyed watching my video, you can leave a like and a comment. In fact, if you read the webcomic, please comment below on what your favorite part about it is too, because I'd love to know. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss any of my other speed paints or animations. And speaking of animations, I'll close out the video with the animation of Laika, the main character of the Speed Demon comic. It's a slightly old animation, which means the character design isn't quite accurate to how he looks in the comic, but I think it's still pretty close. I also wanted to mention how the song is pretty close to how Laika feels, or at least how I think he does, where no one's around to help and he's all alone, but that's just fine, he'll do everything on his own. And I feel like he's in denial about that and wanting friends and stuff, so I just really feel like this song and animation is really accurate to him, even though it is a few years old. But I hope you enjoy. Have a good day.
Nobody? If that's the case, I guess I'll dance, I guess I'll move, I guess I'll shake, I guess I'll groove, I guess I'll swing my candy hips from side to side, cause if I gotta eat it all, I'll make some room with exercise.
To help, so I'll have to handle things myself. It's not so bad here in the no judgment zone.
Oh.
No one's around to help, but that's just fine. Sometimes the best thing you can be is alone.
Alright, that's enough dancing. I must have burned 1,000,000 calories. Well, time to gain them all back. Dinner time.